is to create a vision of what it is that you would like to have in your life. Lesson number 2, commit to that vision. My vision was to have the Nashua River be beautiful again, teeming with fish and wildlife, and be a river that everyone could enjoy. Lesson number 3. Feel passionately about what it is you are doing. The more passionately you feel, the greater success that you will have. Lesson number 4. You do not need to be super smart or super anything. You just need to be committed to your vision. Lesson number 5. Surround yourself with positive thinking people. Never, ever, ever associate yourself with negative thinking people. They will only pull you down. You will never change their minds. It is a waste of your time to associate yourself with negative thinking people. With positive thinking people, it's synergistic, it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of good work done together. Lesson number 6, educate yourself. It's very, very important for you to spend time learning all that you can about the issues. I spent a great deal of my time identifying all the leaders in our communities, all of the stakeholders. Lesson number 7, educate citizens, government officials, and legislators. Once you've educated yourself, once you've informed yourself, then share that information with other people, particularly the people who are in positions of leadership. You can influence them if you have all of the information that is available. Lesson number 8. Be open to every possibility. And I learned, this was a very important lesson that I learned, and I'll tell you a story. And that is not too long after we had moved to the town of Groton, and I had started a citizens' effort to restore the Nashua River, I received a telephone call from the commanding officer at Fort Devens, which was the largest military installation in New England and located not very many miles from where we lived. But I'd never been there, and I had no contacts there. But the commanding officer told me on the phone, he said, I've been hearing about the work that you were doing from mayors and the selectmen and chiefs of police. And he said, Fort Devens has a vested interest in the cleanup of the Nashua River. 8.2 miles of the river runs through our installation. What can I do to help? Well, I made an appointment to see General Cushman the following week, and I made a list of all of the help that we would like to receive. And General Cushman gave me everything on my list and more. He gave us a building for our office. He gave us lights, heat, transportation, staff. And the staff that he gave us were military people who were engineers and draftspeople, legal assistants, financial assistants. He assisted us, the staff assisted us to establish the Nashua River Watershed Association, to create a plan for the watershed. So you never know where your help is going to come from. So be open. Make friends, collaborate. So important. I made a friend, a very important friend. He was the manager of the largest paper mill on our river, also one of the largest polluters of the Nashua River, Don Crocker. And Don said, I'm tired of wearing a black hat. I want to wear a white hat. And he did. Lesson number 9. Ask for what you want, not what you are willing to settle for. And that was one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life. And you saw it illustrated in the film when we were at the Fitchburg Airport when Senator Kennedy and Secretary Udall flew in to visit us, and when we were meeting there also with our governor, lieutenant governor, and I was struggling to decide what it was I was going to ask for. And I was trying to decide whether to really include swimming or not. I wanted to be credible, but the river was so terrible, and we were right next to it, and we could smell it. You could smell it from a mile away. And when the lieutenant governor leaned over my shoulder and whispered in my ear, ask for swimming or you'll never get it, it was like a huge load had been lifted from my shoulders. And that load has been off my shoulders ever since, because I've always now asked for what I've wanted, not what I have been willing to settle for. So I think that's really important. Lesson number 10, the job is never done. And so, yes, we worked very hard. We were successful in restoring our river, but it can be better. We want to protect it. We want to protect it from becoming repolluted. We want to provide a greenway along the whole length of the river, not only for the people, but for the wildlife. We want to protect the wildlife habitat. We want to provide a corridor for wildlife to move. We want a continuous pathway for people to be able to walk, ride, have public access to the river, be able to get on the river, into the river, to enjoy it. We want to provide it for education. Cleaning up the Nashua River has not been an easy job, but it certainly has been fun. It's been rewarding, and there's a lot more work to do, and I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to continuing to work to protect the river from being repolluted and to provide access for everyone to enjoy the benefits of their investment in clean water. So I'd like to say to you that my advice is to dare to envision the dream, create a vision of what you would like to accomplish in your life, the change that you would like to bring about, and then commit to that vision and be that instrument for change. Thank you very much.
I just want to know if your adventure company is still going for older women. If so, how do I sign up?
Thanks for asking. No, I closed my business about almost 7 years ago as I was turning 80. And I had my business for 24 years. I started it when I was 55. And I had a wonderful time, and it was a lot of fun, introduced a lot of people to each other and to the great out of doors. And, but I did close my business in about 7 years ago. Yes.
Businesses or factories, et cetera, had to close as a result of the cleanup effort, if any?
Right. Well, I can't say, yes, of course, businesses change. Not all the businesses that were in business then are in business now. The paper companies, many of the paper companies are gone. And I remember clearly the president of one of the companies who was closing, who came to me to say, I want you to know that we are not closing because we are required to abate our pollution. We are closing because it is less expensive for us to do business in the South than it is here in New England, primarily because of energy costs, also the cost of bringing in pulp. And so so some businesses did close, but not because they were required to abate their pollution. In fact, if they moved to some other state, this is what was really important, is that when we passed our federal water pollution legislation, which later became the Clean Water Act, it required everyone to abate their pollution. It was fair. And I think that's something that's really important too, is fairness, that everyone needs to be treated fairly. And if they are treated fairly, then they can accept change. I hope I answered your question.
Would you consider moving to Wisconsin? We'd love to have you.
Yes, I would consider moving to Wisconsin. But we're pretty well situated in Massachusetts, but thanks. Right, but the person who asked about businesses, one thing that has happened, which is really pretty exciting, is that now that the river is clean, it is attracting more businesses to come to the cities. So it has increased the value of property in all of our communities. Much more attractive place to live and do work.
Marion, I have a question. Elders get short thrift in our society. We don't give them the respect they deserve and learn from their experiences. I'm over here.
Okay, see.
Hello?
Yes.
My question for you is, can you think back to an elder who really helped you get onto this path and what experience they shared with you and the apparency of your, I guess I want to say, I appreciate you sharing your wisdom as an elder with us, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
But is there an elder from your past experience who helped you get on this path of the river cleanup that you can remember?
No, well, of course, in the beginning, I wasn't old.
I mean, an older person who helped you get connected, or to do some of this information sharing, or the learning and the mentoring that can happen, that kind of thing.
Well, now that I am old, I am it is a little difficult for me to hear what you are saying, but are you asking if there is a person who has influenced me?
Yes.
Well, I think Rachel Carson certainly has influenced me. I mean, I was very much affected by, mentally, well, in every way, by her work. And so I would say Rachel Carson's life has certainly influenced me.
I was interested in I'm over here, to your other side. The other way. Hi. I was just curious from the movie, that time when you took all these state officials to see the governor.
Yes.
If you could just talk a little bit about how you led, more in detail about how you got that to happen, how much time you had already invested in those relationships to
Right.
get them to come with you.
A lot of time, and it was fun. I mean, that's the thing, is it was enjoyable. It wasn't something I disliked doing. It was hard to do. It was fun to make friends. I really enjoyed making friends. So to get those particular legislators to the State House, I enlisted the help of one of my legislative friends, a friend that I had made when we had lived in another town in Massachusetts before we moved to Groton. And so I asked his help in contacting all of our legislators and making sure that they came. And so the thing is, you can't do this all by yourself. And so you have to identify, who the key people are, who the community leaders are. And so I asked, well, I don't remember just how we got all those legislators there, but it was through personal contact and calling their offices and asking them to be sure to be there, but then getting fellow legislators to make sure that they did show up, and every single one of them showed up. And I think partly because if they didn't show up, it was going to look really bad. And also, if they did show up, it was going to provide a lot of publicity for them. And power lies in numbers. And so our legislators are very much aware of their constituencies, and so these legislators came because they wanted to represent the people who elected them, and they wanted to be re-elected. And they showed up, and they knew they were going to get good press, and they did. So
I have time for one more question. If someone else has a question, right up here. Hold on.
Okay. Marion, what do you, up front here, Marion. I know the light makes it so difficult. What you just described, what I love about it is it hasn't changed. It's what we do to be advocates still today of those relationships and getting to know your legislators and your leaders. One of the things I can't help but want to know more about is the other thing, beyond being an environmental pioneer and an advocacy pioneer, you were a woman in the 60s taking this on. Can you talk a little bit about building those relationships with all those leaders of a different gender and how you were received? Because that's it was so very inspirational as part of the story to me as well.
Well, that's an interesting question, and it was talking about genders. It was I had not really thought of myself as a person of a particular gender until one day, because, well, usually I was in a room with just all men, but I wasn't really aware that I was of a different gender because there wasn't, but one day there was a woman in the group, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a woman, and I'm one of those, because and that was really pretty startling. And but what I did in the very beginning, when we first moved to Groton, I didn't know anyone. And so I thought, how can I identify who the leaders are in these communities? But I've been very active in the League of Women Voters. And so I used the League as a way to identify leaders. So I would contact the president of the leagues in the communities where there were leagues to say, who are your leaders? Are there any environmental leaders in your community? And I knew that if there, just to identify a leader, I only found that there was one environmental leader in all of these communities, and who was on the Board of Selectmen. So I immediately contacted him, and then through him we were able to identify other people who, good citizens who were concerned, and so that's how we had our numbers grow, is just to identify leaders and then meet them, become friends, and share information, vision, concerns with them, enlist them in the vision. And so that was what was so important, was, to have your own vision of what you want, and then to enlist other people in the vision, and then persuade people, that it was possible to make a change. Did I answer your question? Oh.
Perfect. Well, let's give one more round of applause to Marion.